us are probably in our late 30s or early 40s. We are having a midlife crisis probably. So I think I want to coax all of you to have an extramarital affair here now. So please bear with me.
Oh, you need that. Sorry.
Yeah. One of the youngest photographers in 1938, right? He said, photography is all about having a love affair with life. Okay, so that's what I really meant by extramarital affair. I hope you didn't get me wrong. So when we talk of life in general, right? It's too big a word, like what we went, but at least what I went through with Arvind, right? When he used the word transformation. So if you look at the grandeur of the Grand Canyon, also, right? You cannot just capture it that easily with a single photograph, right? So it's a process. So you need to have this love affair on an ongoing basis. And what I want to convince all of us here is get clicking. Just go ahead and click your memories, click life. You'll experience a sea change in your life. So you may ask, hey, I don't have a camera. Should I use a DSLR? Should I go for wildlife photography? Should I go for a telephoto type photography? Should I go with a film camera? Just forget about all those things. Just get clicking. Just click. There was a famous photographer, whom I can quote actually. I don't know if you have heard of him. His name is Henri Cartier-Bresson. There was a famous French photographer who said that no matter what you do, your first 10,000 photographs are the worst photographs. So, and this comes from a guy who established the field of photojournalism, right? So don't worry about that. Just click. As you keep clicking, believe me, you will fall in love with it. And just to quote Eli Wallach from Good, Bad and Ugly, there's a guy who keeps yapping around in the film, right? And Eli Wallach just comes and shoots him and says, when you have to shoot, don't talk. So don't worry about all these things. It will come naturally to you, believe me. So you may ask, okay, I'll keep clicking, but what is in it for me? I mean, why should I do all this? Why should I photograph, right? See, some of the key things that I would want to pass on here is what is important to us. That's what we like to have as memories, right? So through the course of the day, I heard a lot of us were busy with phone calls. We said we are busy, we don't have time, he said when Raji was talking about gardening, right? We see this daily. We are all bits and bytes guys. We see bits and bytes in higher levels of abstraction, right? So when I was picturing about this binary 0, 1, 2, 3, what came to my mind is, I mean, this is not what I want to do. Of course, this is important, it gives us our bread and butter. But this is not what I want to do. This is not really what is important to me, right? So if you see, for example, all these images that I've put here, right? Bear with me as I keep referring to these images. Okay, there's a saying, right? The tenor of life in ancient times, right, was so unhurried that even the timepieces of the day, whether it was a sundial, whether it was a sand clock or whether it was a water clock, it never had minutes and seconds. Now we are worried about minutes and seconds. I have to complete this presentation in 7.5 minutes, right? So when your tenor is slow, right, believe me, you will enjoy life. So if you try to establish a correlation, right, this is what I live in today, but this is where I want to get to. So there is light at the end of the tunnel here, there is also light at the end of the tunnel here, but this is where I want to run away to. So as you keep clicking images, right, the overwhelming nature of life itself will make you humble. This is what I have experienced. I'm sure this is what all of you will experience. That was the important part of it, right? The other interesting thing is, there was a Reader's Digest article that I read a while ago, right? It's startling actually. What it says is, let's say if your house catches fire and you're the only guy in the house, what is it that you will want to run away with? 62% of the folks who responded to that survey said, we want to take our photographs. I want to take my wedding album, I want to take my portraits, I want to take my parents' pictures. This is our legacy. Those photographs may be black and white, those photographs may be of our infants, portraits, whatever, of a scenic place that we went to. It's not quantifiable. I mean, you enjoy that legacy, right? So we want that. So it is a legacy. So again, I mean, don't worry about the nature of the camera and all those things. Capture that legacy, have it with you. Like, again, don't get me wrong, I don't want to boast anything here. I was very lucky to go to this MRF Pace Foundation just a few months ago, and there was Glenn McGrath standing at the MRF Pace Foundation. We just rushed to him and he just grabbed my daughter. That's a moment I just felt that I need to take this and boast to everyone that, hey, I have shook hands with Glenn McGrath, he's actually lifted my daughter. So we had our cheese movement with Glenn McGrath. So, I mean, these are all the small things that we live for, right? So beyond this legacy, what else do we have? I heard Mike say, for example, right, he made us write a picture is worth 1,000 words. I strongly believe in that. Recently when we went for an outing, I was just randomly looking at places, and then I found that, okay, we have beggars, we have mother and child. So that mother and child, when it stuck to me, right, I just took that as a theme, and I felt that, hey, why don't I capture different aspects of mother and child, right? So normally when you look at monkeys, you throw some stuff at them, right? But sometimes when you look at them, you suddenly realize that there are all these emotions, not just within humans, but among other folks also, right? So here you have a parrot feeding their young ones. You have this monkey. So when I looked at this monkey, I felt as though the monkey is telling to its kid that, hey, don't worry, I'll soon find food for you. It doesn't seem to be like a happy picture, right? So all these different aspects that you see in life, right, as you keep clicking, as you keep taking photographs, even with your cell phones, for example, you will start learning more and more things from life. You start introspecting and looking at things in retrospective, right? So pictures do definitely communicate. It makes us artists. There's no doubt about it, right? I'm not a very great painter. My sister used to be a great painter. But now, I mean, there's a lot of painting out there in nature. All I need to do is just click, and I have a fabulous picture that I can just look at and enjoy, right? So I mean, instead of just listening to Pink Floyd songs and staring straight into the shining sun, I've actually done that. So I mean, bring out the artist in you. Just don't be like what Mike says, right? A melancholic technologist, right? So we do have artists in us. I didn't want to disturb you guys with these images, but just like how we say that a picture conveys 1,000 words, right? Photographs tend to move you, right? These are not random photographs that I've picked. The photograph that you see on the right is that of a Buddhist monk. His name was Teach Quang Duc, who actually self-immolated himself. You can read about him. And John F. Kennedy was rattled by this image, that he had to take back his army from the Viet Cong, right? So he said that, and by the way, when this monk actually immolated himself, he didn't even budge. His heart stayed soft, and it is even preserved today as it is, right? The picture that you see on your left is that of the Sudanese famine. The guy, the photographer who captured this image won the Pulitzer Prize. But you know what? He committed suicide. He spent 1 month in Sudan photographing people that just depressed him to an extent that he had to commit suicide. Okay, his name is Kevin Carter, by the way. So, not that photograph will take you to this level, but keep in mind that whatever you click can have impacts in different ways. So we heard about Raji speak about capturing moments of our gardening. We heard Arvind talk about transformations. Incidentally, there is a website that if you go to, right, like for example, it's called, I think, 5 Photo Guys. What these guys have done is, every 5 years, they go to a spot in US called the Copco Lake, and they just photograph themselves in the same position. They have done this for 30 years, and you can actually see the transformation. Those images talk a lot about the transformation. It's just beyond physical transformations, right? And Narsi, you mentioned Vishishta Advaita, right? So this image actually reminded me of that. I just happened to put it after hearing that from you actually. So we say that when we talk of illusions, right, there is a saying, right, Maya matram idam dvaitam advaitam paramarthaha, which means whatever apparent duality you are seeing in life, right, that is all an illusion. The reality in life is non-dualism. But I cannot get to that level. I know I cannot get to that level. I want to live with my illusions. I want to create my illusions. I want to use my illusions. I want to enjoy my illusions. Rather than being some person who's disillusioned by the fact that he's not able to go through that self-actualization process, right? So my request to you guys is get clicking. And if you're still not convinced, because you have to reject. If you're still not convinced, you are photographers. You don't have a choice. You are photographers by design. So even if you say, I am not convinced, you are photographers. You have your 2 eyes. When you snap your eyelids, you have taken your image. That image stays in your memory. So you are photographers. So get clicking either with your cell phones, cameras or whatever, or blink your eyelids. Thanks.